3.
Today we'll be reading The Tallest Dwarf by Melissa Hickey, illustrated by Sam Hickey. Deep in the forest lived a family of dwarfs. There was Mama Dwarf, who loved to plant and garden. Papa Dwarf loved to play catch with his kids. Clover was the oldest, and Poppy was the smartest. Willow loved to sing la 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 la, and Twig was the baby. Along with this family of dwarves, there was another little girl named Ivy. She was very different from her family. She had paler skin, longer hair, and pointier ears. As time went on, she became obviously different from the others. She was very tall and often would hit her head on the door frame. Boink! Mama couldn't find any shoes to fit Ivy's large feet, so Ivy never wore any. Her feet would get muddy when she would go outside, and her big ears would not fit in any of the hats. So Mama cut holes in them. Ivy's ears poked through and stayed very cold every winter. Though her family loved her, she never felt like she belonged. The only one that ever seemed to like her differences was their cat, Castlebrook. He often purred against the point of her ears, and he loved playing with her long hair. One night, while Ivy was in bed, her parents came in. "You know that we love you," Papa said. "Everyone is born with different gifts, and those gifts make them special," Mama reassured. But Ivy didn't feel special at all. Her siblings didn't have to worry about hitting their heads while they walked through the other rooms. They could wear their hats and keep their ears warm. They also had shoes that fit their feet. They especially didn't have any people whispering about them as they walked by. People talked about Ivy all the time. "Look how tall that blue dwarf is," a boy pointed at her. "Look at her huge ears," a girl laughed. Ivy started feeling more and more sorry for herself. She decided that maybe it was best to just leave. If there was no one around, there would be no one to make fun of her differences. But the deeper she went into the forest, the less she recognized her surroundings. Ivy got scared because she couldn't find her way. After a while, she sat against a tree and started to cry. She was in the middle of sobbing when a tall and colorful woman walked out from behind a tree. She looked a lot like Ivy. "Are you a dwarf?" Ivy asked. The woman laughed. "No, I'm an elf, just like you. Come, dear child, let's get you cleaned up." The woman led Ivy through the forest until they reached a sparkly, bright village. It was filled with elves, and they all greeted Ivy with open arms and with wide smiles. A blue-haired dwarf gave Ivy new clothes, shoes, and a new hat, too. How the dwarf's dress was very different from what Ivy was used to. The dress was long, and she sometimes tripped over it. The shoes were uncomfortable and trapped her feet. Finally, the hat often fell on her face and made it very hard to see. The elves didn't have to worry about problems that Ivy had back at home. They could walk through doors easily and didn't have to play catch in the mud. Everyone was tall and had pointy ears, just like Ivy. Even though she fit in now, she never felt so alone. All the things that made her different from her family was normal here. Ivy felt even less special than she had before. Worse yet, Ivy started to miss her family and what made her different. Though she was with people like her, Ivy wanted to go home. Ivy went to the woman that led her here. She returned the clothes and explained how she felt. The woman understood and gave Ivy directions to home. "Thank you," Ivy smiled. Ivy started to travel back to her home, but as she got closer, she could hear Twig and Willow crying. She soon saw why. Their cat Castlebrook was stuck in a tree. Clover, Poppy, Willow, and Twig were far too short to reach him. Clover tried to climb the tree, but there were no branches low enough for him to grab. Ivy knew what she had to do. She walked over to the branch and held out her arms. Castlebrook leaped into them because he knew that he would land safely. The fat cat started to purr as she held him. "Thank you, Ivy," Clover smiled. "You're the best," Willow gasped. "Yay for Ivy!" Twig stopped crying. "We love you," Poppy grinned. Ivy realized that though she was different from her family and all the other dwarves, she was different in a good way. She could help her family, and she wouldn't change that for the world. Ivy never felt bad about her differences again. Mama and Papa were right all along. She was special. It just took a little while for Ivy to figure that out. Even if she still hit her head on the door frames. Boink! The end.